Hello, everyone. Welcome to Kryptonized. I am bringing this show back, this time with a co-host, because apparently I can't handle it myself. There's so much going on in the crypto world. I decided to bring on a co-host. Her name is Amanda Whitcroft. And before we get to her, I want to talk about what the purpose of this show is. Our goal for you is to help you make more informed decisions about crypto. A reminder, we're not financial advisors unless Amanda just got her advisor degree or whatever it is yesterday. We're not. But we are interested in just analyzing tokens and bringing on guests, not just her and I, to provide expert investment analysis. And we'll make you another promise, and that is we're going to keep it fun, but educational, and probably at the 8th grade level where I think anyway. So with that, Amanda, would you please introduce yourself as the co-star of this production?
Sure. Thanks, Mark. My name is Amanda Whitcroft. I am the owner and CEO of Panda PR and Marketing. So I represent several crypto clients, and I'm here because since cryptocurrency I believe to be very much our future, I want to make sure that I, in my best way, am describing this in layman's terms so that the average person can understand exactly what this is.
All right. And, Amanda doesn't know that I know this, but she's got some movie credits to her list. And we're going to play a few of those right now before we jump in.
I'm so stressed. How long are these auditions?
Mama always said stupid is what stupid does. Don't let go, Jack. Don't ever let go.
China yapping while you're racially and let us provide the rest. Did you want more hors while we only live to serve? Try to grace up this delicious. Don't worry about delicious.
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. Wow.
So today we are talking about Sovryn. And Sovryn's interesting because it's not really its own token, but it kind of is. It's a side chain of Bitcoin using rootstock, and we'll get into what that is. But I think one of the reasons that Amanda and I want to tackle this is because I think, and Amanda, you give your opinion, I think inflation is going to go haywire here pretty soon because we're just printing money left and right. If it were me, I would advise people, and this is not investment advice, but I would say, if you ask me, to invest in real estate and crypto. What are your thoughts on that, Amanda?
I think, because especially this particular token, the DeFi market is where it's at. So if you're following this decentralized part of cryptocurrency, 100%, this is where you need to focus.
In a world controlled by the fiat lords, centralized exchanges were inevitably corrupted. Only one force stood for freedom. Before it's too late, Sovryn, decentralized Bitcoin trading and decentralized Bitcoin lending.
So Sovryn's just a project that aims to be a decentralized, financed, what we call DeFi token on Bitcoin. And again, I talked about it being on rootstock. And rootstock is just a Bitcoin layer 2 side chain. So it's just alongside of Bitcoin, but using Bitcoin in order to execute on smart contracts. And that's where Sovryn comes in. If you don't know what smart contracts are, think of an Excel spreadsheet with macros that run in each of those cells, and they can do virtually anything. And we're going to get into what Sovryn does. And before we do that, Amanda, do you have anything to add to what I've said so far about what Sovryn or rootstock is?
No, I just think that, to your point with Bitcoin being the back end as opposed to Ethereum, which has been running the show thus far, this is very, very interesting, but I'll always compare it to in the early stages of the internet, you had AOL, you had Hotmail, you had all these different platforms that, you didn't know which was kind of going to take off. And when Gmail came into the picture, now whenever you meet a person that's using Hotmail or AOL, you're usually making fun of them, right? And that's just how and I think this is the same with the DeFi market with cryptocurrency, is that this blockchain's not going anywhere, but I think that you're going to see where I think, I'm not sure where it's going to evolve yet, but right now this is it's a hot market.
Yeah, I just wonder if Sovryn's just like a bolt-on to Bitcoin, because the criticism around Bitcoin, of course, versus Ethereum is that Ethereum's got all these smart contracts, and you can do some really cool stuff with it, including building stuff on it. Time will tell. I mean, Sovryn was just released, but time will tell whether Sovryn can hold a candle to some of the things, the DeFi projects like MakerDAO that's being released on Ethereum. So we'll see. I know Anthony, what they call Pompliano, was going to invest 180 Bitcoin worth around 10 million a couple of months ago. I don't know if he went through with that. I don't have that information, but he thought it was a big deal. And then, what Sovryn is, I think we should get into that now. What Sovryn is a place to do all sorts of lending and borrowing for users, and they make it very, very easy. And it's all decentralized. Most of it's decentralized, not all decentralized. So no, there's not really a controlling body. There's controlling committees, if you will, that are doing some aspects like holding keys of the lenders and the borrowers. But other than that, it's pretty decentralized. From the face of it, it looks really cool. I don't like doing these things as a token holder myself. I like to come at it very objective, so I don't own any of these tokens, full disclosure. Amanda, anything to add to my commentary around Sovryn?
Utilizing the smart contracts for transparency is certainly key. I was reading on Reddit the other day that people were having issues withdrawing their money, which I think they addressed on Twitter that they had fixed that, but I'm not sure. Did you see that?
I didn't see that. No, I'm kind of coming at this more from the technical perspective, but glad you saw some of those comments. That wouldn't be good, but just knowing the people that are backing this project, I know they're going to do everything possible to fix some of the issues that are around it.
Right. Yeah, that's my only addition there.
All right, so it's cool. It's more than MakerDAO, but it's like MakerDAO on Bitcoin. I try to keep things as simple as possible. Of course, there's more to it. If you're a Sovryn, let's say a Sovryn aficionado, you can criticize me all you want, but this is basically MakerDAO with some extra things and some cool things on Bitcoin. And to the Bitcoin maximalists, which I am not one, but to the Bitcoin maximalists, I think they're very happy with this sidechain and hoping that it works, because their whole thing, Amanda, is you don't need any other thing, even Ethereum. Bitcoin can do it all. Get rid of all the other shit coins is what they'll say. I don't agree personally. I understand their point of view. Let's focus on one. But there's no possible way Bitcoin is going to become all things to all people. I don't care what they say.
Yeah, that seems a little unrealistic. I mean, I know their mission, I know their goal, but to cut out all the other, and as I said with the example of the internet, you have to have other competitors, and I would think that because they're demonstrating the world shifting towards that more authentic digital age, you're going to want that competition. You're going to want those other cryptocurrencies coming up against you. So to say, hey, we're it, that can also come off a bit scammy, which they're not. But they have to be careful with their branding too, to not be so complex and simplify, because that's what people are looking for.
I mean, I like to say if there was no Ethereum, we wouldn't have a Sovryn. We wouldn't have a root stock. We wouldn't have all these additions to Bitcoin. And all these things are needed. DeFi is probably the number one use case, a real use case for blockchain, where it's just not everyone saying there's a value to blockchain or to crypto. This is demonstratable. DeFi, if you can come in and lend and borrow and use those funds or use that crypto to do great things with it, which people are, it's amazing what's going on out there. That I think is something that's demonstrably very important. So, but I do want to get your take overall before we dive in a little bit further, Amanda. On a scale of 1 to 10, where do you think Sovryn fits in terms of a token?
I think, again, the DeFi market, regardless of, Sovryn is the token that is a part of that. I think I'd like to see how it evolves, though. I don't want to speak too soon, because this could also be something that gets too far ahead of what we even realize is going to be a problem down the road, because it's too complex and it's cutting out too many middlemen too soon. I don't know where it's going yet. I do like the idea of it. I like what they have proposed. I like their branding. I'm not sure. I think that it's too soon for me to rate them, honestly. What do you think?
Well, I think the promise of it is an 8 or a 9. And just going through the process of potentially buying and borrowing and lending, I didn't do it for reasons I've already stated. They make it pretty easy. There are some things you got to do with MetaMask or some other mobile or browser plugin, but I think the lending and the borrowing thing, they've really dumbed it down. And so not going through the process, so caveat, from all appearances, from what I could see, it's pretty easy. And something like this for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's the number one coin out there. Actually, it's probably not Bitcoin anymore. It's probably one of the stable coins. But Bitcoin arguably is the most well-known, probably the most important crypto out there. To have something like this on there that actually works and secure, to me, is big. And I would say it's an 8. And I've seen the roadmap of what they're trying to do. And so not using it, but looking at the roadmap, looking at who's backing it, I'd say it's a solid 8.
That's big for someone that doesn't have the token, Mark.
It's pretty brave of me to say. I don't mind eating crow later on if it ends up being a dud. But from what I can tell, these DeFi projects are very important. And what's critical to know if you are in DeFi or have never been in DeFi is these are just basic use cases that are real world. It's already happened with crypto and smart contracts. We can't even imagine what's possible. We're going to see some amazing stuff in 3 to 4 years with DeFi that we can't even imagine. Right now, we're operating in a world where people can, can borrow and lend, right? But you could get into a situation because of smart contracts that if you pay back it early, or you make extra payments, or you do all sorts of stuff around payments and lending and rewarding a charity all at the same time because of a smart contract. I mean, I can't even begin to think of what you can do with these types of tokens that are out there that haven't even been tried yet. Somebody's going to experiment and somebody's going to come to market with some of these things.
If somebody were to withdraw from a more decentralized token and you do, you invest and you withdraw, how would that be different in terms of the taxes that you would owe on that, or from borrowing or lending, as opposed to something more centralized?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I'm going to answer it because the IRS might be watching. How about that? All of these things have to be declared. So if you're borrowing and you're lending and you're making money off it, you've got to declare it, no matter what. Especially, I mean, if you're a U.S. citizen, if you're watching this outside the United States,
right,
your local collection agency probably wants to be notified of what's going on. But Sovryn is named Sovryn for a reason. And if you look at their ethos, you look at what they're trying to do, they think most fiat currencies, which are just currencies issued by government, that they're corrupt, and they want you to become a sovereign citizen eventually. And part of becoming a sovereign citizen is having sovereign money not controlled by any central authority. So you could tell where they're headed. Now, whether they get there or not before somebody shuts them down or it just doesn't work is another story. All right, so what's your take on Sovryn? Any thoughts as a novice as I am approaching Sovryn? Would this be something you'd use?
Yes, well, I mean, even right now, I'm in the market of buying a house, for example, and that's just a broken system as it is. So if
Wow,
if this were
terrible.
something that really evolved, because right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but they're only on Uniswap right now, correct? They're not on
Well, no,
MetaMask.
you could use MetaMask. There's a few things that you
Okay,
could do to swap into the
so
tokens. Yeah.
if this really evolved and every jumping on that bandwagon 100%, because as everyone knows, to buy a home is, if I could use cryptocurrency to do that and have more control over my money, and have hands-on in an easier fashion, why not? Yes.
I mean, I don't know why there hasn't been anyone announce, and maybe there has, that they're a mortgage bank on crypto, because all of it's automated. You don't have to worry about payments and sending in checks, and all of it's tracked on a blockchain. It's all verifiable. There's no nonsense. You could do really crazy stuff. Like if I were a mortgage lender on the blockchain, every single month, I would do a quick lottery, which is easy to do on the blockchain, and I would pick one winner, and I paid or a
Right.
couple winners. I paid your mortgage for the month. Just make it really fun and interesting, and then also accumulate loyalty points for staying a mortgage member or mortgage borrower. I mean, there's so many cool things you could do that aren't even being done yet.
Oh, I
Somebody's going to do
totally
them in the
agree.
future.
Is it Sovryn?
I think, it's something to watch. It's something to look at. It's easy to buy their tokens. You do have to convert your Bitcoin into what's called, I think it's rootstock Bitcoin, so RBTC. That's done with MetaMask or some of the other ways they have you do it. You should give it a shot. You should take a look at it. I think it's worthy to kind of invest. Like I said, I gave it an 8. You don't want to put everything into it because they're not proven, but something to take a look at. I do believe this type of model is the future, Amanda. So just for me, definitely take a look at.
No,
Definitely
I
something you
agree. I
want to
just don't want
try.
someone to look
What are
back
your
and it
thoughts?
goes down and they're like, "Oh, Amanda, you said that." So that's where I'm trying to choose my words carefully and go, "I don't know," but I right now I totally agree with you. I can't say it enough. I think the DeFi market right now is where it's at.
Well, I got to tell you that I did some of these review videos on my own before. That's why I have you here to protect me. Is I mean, I did some Monero. I did Ethereum versus Bitcoin, and I was roasted. Ultimately, I was proven correct. But the thing about crypto is it goes through dips and valleys.
Right.
But you can see in the comments, "Oh, you idiot! Monero is a piece of crap
Right.
crypto."
I
And then
have
of
a
course now
question.
it's going all the way back up. But it's stuff like that. So it depends on when you're watching this. You'll be able to properly admonish
No,
me or to
you're
say
not
no, you
wrong.
were right.
I have a question for it. My father-in-law asked this to me this past weekend. What is the difference between a coin and a token?
Ah, wow. I mean, a token is supposed to be something that sits on top of a platform, and the
From a
platform
trading
would be the coin.
perspective.
Like Ethereum would be a coin, Bitcoin. Correct. So, but I don't know if I subscribe to that because there's plenty of, okay, let's say take the Wax token, for example. Wax, totally decentralized, not controlled by anybody, but you can build on top of Wax. You can do things on top. So what is that? So is that a coin or a token? But they consider themselves a token. So if you look at tokens versus coins, I think most people, the purists would say coins are the platform cryptocurrencies like Ethereum, like Bitcoin, and all the rest that sit on top of those types of platforms, and there's plenty of platforms out there, are tokens. But it's
I think I
nonsense. No.
explained it to him that coins are the platform of which you trade currency, and I said that token was more of the So, for example, I said driver's license, of which are all hard copy. You have to always show your driver's license with a hard copy. So, if you introduced a token that digitalized, showing a driver's license, that is now registered as a token. So did I completely go wrong in telling him that?
First of all, there's no Webster's dictionary for this stuff, so I don't think you're that far off. But I think you can
Okay.
still trade tokens just like you can coins.
Okay. So it's kind of interchangeable.
Well, it's supposed to work. Coin platform token sits on top of a platform, but I've seen it used in multiple different ways. Maybe we could define it right here and there, right here and now. Nobody will listen to it, but we could try and define it. All right, so with that, Amanda, my closing thoughts on this are Sovryn's definitely something you want to look at. And I would even venture to say you should buy a few just to find out how to use it, because it's on Bitcoin. It is working. It is a side chain of Bitcoin, so it doesn't operate exactly like Ethereum. And there is a bridge to Ethereum as well. So it's pretty cool technology. It's something you should stay abreast in. And the best way to stay abreast of all these things is to invest a small amount and just watch it. And so with that, what I want you to do is subscribe and provide us comments, whether you agree or disagree or don't like the color of my shirt.
Or my
just
boring
let us know
background.
what
What would you like to see in my background?
And stay tuned. We're going to fix that. So with that,
Thank you,
Amanda,
Mark.
thank you very much. And I
Likewise.
look
Thanks,
forward
everybody.
to our next episode.